science, nous on fait de la science. Nous on travaille pour la science.
Hello, it's Tuesday, the 17th of September 2024, and I'm very excited that tomorrow I will go to Innsbruck to see the wonderful Professor Walter Platter and Professor Thomas Haller in Innsbruck. And Innsbruck is the place of many things. Douglas Adams wrote his book, The Hitchhiker, or had the idea for his book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy there, for example. Anyway, I wanted to just read out chapter 2. I'm nearly finished with chapter 3 of Frankenstein's Followers. So chapter 2 is called It's Alive. And I'm just going to read this out now. So, Dr. Frankenstein's obsession with life and electricity led to his monstrous creation. He collected various body parts from different corpses, assembled them and zapped them with a high-powered electrical source. The experiment was successful, and the bastardized concoction of once dead tissues was reanimated via this external energy into a conscious living being. One might have thought that Dr. Frankenstein would have been exhilarated by this success, and might have even exclaimed in excitement and equal horror, "It's alive." However, the phrase, "it's alive," does not actually appear in the original text of Mary Shelley, but was an addition in the 1931 film directed by James Whale, where the Doctor was portrayed by Colin Clive. Instead, in Shelley's original, Frankenstein, far from being euphoric, was confronted by a sense of nihilism and regret on the success of his experiment. He stated, "I worked hard for nearly 2 years for the sole purpose of infusing life into an inanimate body. For this I had deprived myself of rest and health. I had desired it with an ardour that far exceeded moderation. But now I had finished, the beauty of the dream vanished, and the breathless horror of disgust filled my heart." The story proceeds to its tragic end. Shelley's Frankenstein was certainly inspired by contemporary experiments where dead animals were shown to twitch when exposed to electrical impulses. A short-lived scientific field called galvanism, named after uncle and nephew pair from Italy. However, her humanization of the monster and its demonization by society was a reflection on society's stubbornness and reluctance to accept progressive, novel scientific propositions. In Shelley's story, science itself was the victim. The word Frankenstein today is often meant as a warning of scientific endeavours not being quite thought through to its potential through its potential destructive end. The pursuit of knowledge, after all, has no particular aim except to discover and demonstrate new possibilities. While Shelley's story is unique, the imagination and pursuit of immortality is a common thread in humanity. All religions are based, to some extent, on immortality or everlasting life. Frankenstein, however, made this possibility feel sordid and unnatural. Resurrection and immortality are themes that have been part of human cultures since stories and myths began. Most humans have embedded stories with references to reincarnation or the undead, from Mesopotamians Ishtar, the Norse Dragua, Judaism's Golem, the Celts Ausi, Jesus Christ's resurrection, ghosts, fairies, etc., etc. Tir na Nog is the land of the forever young in Irish culture. A common theme in folklore and science fiction is of immortality, youth or endless energy and strength. Humans find the concept of mortality limiting and are enthralled with the concept of eternal youth and immortality. What is unique about Shelley's retelling is that a scientist could purposefully reincarnate dead material into a living, thinking, conscious being. But this being might not be that pleased by its creation and existence, as was the case for Frankenstein's monster, mirrored in humanity's inability to accept mortality. While the story of Frankenstein's monster was inspired by scientific endeavours, the ability to reanimate life from death remains science fiction. The ability to even preserve life to its potential length remains a challenge of modern medicine. Certain rare cases of people living well into their 11th decade exist, but we do not know the reasons. Undoubtedly, genetics, lifestyle, and a lot of luck, i.e. avoiding pathogens and buses, are part of it. But we have no formula for this, and still do not know how to balance nutrition, exercise, psychological stresses, and counter environmental exposures of toxic chemicals. What we do know is that the average lifespans are increasing at pace, most likely because civilization has brought even denser populations together, causing a significant decrease in natural lifespan through combinations of over-physical exertion, rapid spread of infections, malnutrition, and exposure to pollutants. Scientific progress is eventually beginning to reverse this trend through improved child mortality, antimicrobials, vaccination, decreased physical intensive employment, decreased occupational chemical exposures, and improved nutrition. The human population is currently in an exponential growth with over 8 billion people. This is estimated to be 10% of the total amount of people that have ever lived. As knowledge about human biology, symbiotic organisms, and pathogenic organisms increase, we will inevitably further increase life expectancy. How far can we go? Who knows? Maybe one day we will indeed reach immortality, but we have to learn a lot before that. A key question to these endeavours is, what is life? Thousands of years of philosophy have been spent on this topic, but mostly on what it is to be human and what differentiates human from other life forms. René Descartes phrased, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. This is a limitation of our own neural networks. We are alive, therefore life must ponder that life exists. Actually, humans, while being quite sophisticated organisms, are not very biologically unique at all. Scientifically speaking, life is the ability to sustain a set of chemical processes in a unit that can replicate itself. The unit is called a cell. While certain components of this unit existed before the cell existed, the emergence of the cell unit allowed a more controlled replication and evolution of these components, providing a continuation of useful traits. While awesome, amazing, and everything, once that first cell existed, which actually is not that improbable, everything else was just time and probability. The first common cell of nowadays cells is sometimes referred to as Luca, the last universal common ancestor. This cell is old, very old, in the region of 3.8 billion years old. New research even suggests it might be a tad older than that, and ancient viruses may have coerced its components. The Earth formed about 4.5 billion years ago. The first million years or so, the Earth's crust was in a molten state incompatible with life. It eventually calmed and stabilized about 0.5 billion years after its birth, providing the elements necessary for life to begin, if it desired. It did. And the emergence of life was fast. The original cell was similar to modern-day bacteria. Evolutionary processes and diversification split life into two branches, the archaea and the prokaryotes. These two branches lived separate but competing existences for a few billion years, and then fused to create the first hybrid cell we term eukaryote. Single-cell eukaryotes, with the combined tricks of both life's branches, emerged as strong survivalists and eventually led to the emergence of multicellular life forms, the animal, plant, and fungal kingdoms. How can we possibly know these things that existed before humans ever existed? Our species, Homo sapiens, have only been around for a few 100,000 years after all. While, as mentioned, biologically speaking, there is nothing too unique about sapiens except its trait of unyielding curiosity. We know these things because we can observe today what was once before. All living things are made of cells, and all life today represents an unbroken chain of cellular life and evolution over an enormous period of time, circa 4 billion years.
Des grands amis. En tout cas, pour résumer ce qu'il faut s'inscrire dans cette lettre. La science, nous on fait de la science.